might have seen a picture like this of an iceberg with the small section on top that we see representing either someone's success or maybe an amazing piece of work that is seen by the public, and the 95% underwater representing everything that went into creating it. The same iceberg analogy can also be used to get some perspective about the human subconscious mind. So if you're not sure what that is, the subconscious mind is the part of our brain that holds things that are deeply stored in our memory. So it's the 95% that we see underwater here. So it includes things like the influence of past events and things that are automatic to us, like, like walking, and also years of developed habits and abilities, principles by which we live our lives, and the lens through which we were raised. So these are things that influence us without us necessarily realizing it. In our daily lives, the things we do and say, and also some of the events that we live through, can mold the subconscious mind. And this is the part of our brain that's mysterious, and we still don't know very much about it, but new discoveries are always being made. And one thing that's certain is that the subconscious mind is very challenging to reach, but it can be programmed and reprogrammed in an infinite amount of ways. Okay, so you're probably thinking right now, Ina, what are you talking about? You're wasting my time. What does this have to do with music? I could be practicing right now or looking at pictures of cats. So before you go practicing today, let's go over 3 things that can impact our subconscious mind in the practice room. And it can be either a positive or a negative way, depending on what you do. But before we get into this, if you have not already done so yet and you are new to this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below and notification bell so that you don't miss any of my weekly videos. Okay, so here we go. Number 1 is muscle memory. Most of you watching probably already know what muscle memory is and how it's a very important part of learning a piece of music. And this is usually achieved through many repetitions spread across a long period of time. When we're practicing, it's important to pay attention to how many of these repetitions are correct and will serve the piece that you are playing. Much too often, I remember walking in the hallway of music school back when I was in college and grad school. I would always hear someone in the practice room playing the same few measures over and over, but every time it would sound very different. And while it's very good to experiment and strive for what you want, the problem is that many times when they found a version that they were satisfied with, they would move on to something else. And this is where many people skip a very important step, which is to do several good repetitions after learning the notes or after making some kind of musical decision about phrasing or whatever, depends on what you're doing. So muscle memory is really subconscious memory, and this is something that can be either strengthened through good repetition or replaced by something else. This is a very similar concept of making habits or breaking old ones. All right, so number 2, it's the mind-body connection, and it's very much related to muscle memory as well. So let's think about all those strange habits we might have. For example, raising the left shoulder every time there's a difficult shift coming up, or freaking out whenever there's a passage coming up that looks like this or like this, which I myself can be very guilty of sometimes. Because the mind and body are very much connected, having specific thoughts can either help or hurt the outcome of a performance. So of course, while we can never have 100% control of our thoughts, we can at least plan or practice the things that we would like to go through our minds when we are performing or doing a run-through. And I don't know about you, but personally, I find it impossible to completely clear the mind. And if you feel the same way, instead of trying to clear your mind, what you can do is make a plan to focus on specific sensations or sounds. They can be imaginary sounds too, or just imagery. Could be a motion picture playing in your mind. I love to do that. And these are things that you can focus on in different parts of the piece when you're performing it. So this way, whenever a distracting thought comes up in the middle of a run-through, you can have something else to latch onto. And this is a strategy that's been extremely helpful for me as someone who's been suffering from extreme performance anxiety for many, many years. This is something that has been a breakthrough for me. So unfortunately, just like playing our instruments, mental imagery is something that's incredibly difficult to do without practicing it. It's not something that you just slap on as icing at the last minute to your piece in the dress rehearsal and hope for the best. For best results, it does also need to get some repetitions to get used to creating some mental cues for yourself. Number 3 is self-talk. So there is a difference between constructive criticism and, well, destructive criticism, I guess you could say. There is also a lot of power in affirmations. Affirmations are statements that you say that are in the present tense and are about yourself. And you probably heard about how awesome and empowering it is to create affirmations, maybe during a meditation session or something. However, did you know that criticism and affirmations can accidentally be overlapped while correcting yourself, or even while correcting a student or a colleague? This is something that can unintentionally turn into destructive criticism within the subconscious mind without us even noticing it. And it's based around things like how you say a sentence, something small like that. So let's consider the following 2 statements. The notes in measure 40 were flat versus I'm flat. Now, of course, most people don't see what the big deal is here with the second statement, and it's usually not something that is a problem, not something that one takes personally at all. But because it's directed toward a specific person instead of the music itself, especially if this is toward yourself, this can unintentionally turn into a bad affirmation. The thing is that once something becomes an affirmation, your subconscious mind slowly and gradually starts to believe that it's true about yourself. So the result, in this case, playing chronically flat in general and getting really frustrated over it. So there you have it. These are the 3 things that we do in the practice room that can impact our subconscious mind. And I don't know about you, but I have to remind myself about these things very often. And hopefully with enough reminders, it will help to create and strengthen some good habits. And not just in the practice room, but also in life. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope that it's been helpful to you. And if you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and share it with a friend or a colleague. All right, so happy practicing, and I will see you next week.